VR glasses, small ones.
Ooh. I like that.
Recently, and the prescription is different enough that I actually started getting nauseated when I was kind of walking around. These are new, yeah. New and nauseating, so I didn't think that would be the best solution.
I don't know, I feel like it's in the spirit of like,
Yeah. Oh, great. What are you telling me?
I'm telling you that there are things that agree to these things that are
Oh, now you guessed it.
and like
Yeah, sure.
simulate behavior that should be accommodated, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, you can clean it up.
Just actually go to the Wi-Fi and just force it to disconnect.
Maybe I support it actually.
No, yeah, the one that is currently on is.
How is the transformational game design studio going?
They have presentations today of pitches for their first transformational game ideas, and for their first project
Like putting it off twice.
didn't include a pitch cycle since they first started doing that. And I'm interested to see. They were given a very complex problem, perhaps too complex, might not. But
I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
when you, I haven't responded to your comment about Yeah, I feel like just the fact that yeah, like I'll zoom in and just like yeah, I feel like showing a unified front is what I like to do. And then like if you give me what you say ahead of time, like undercover. Yeah. So it can be like that's how we work. That's that's our MO. He's gonna say I don't agree with him. It'll be good. Hey Ferris. Oh man. What's up?
It's pretty intense. Last pretty intense couple weeks. Mostly it's just like implementation.
Good.
Yeah.
Excited to see what you
You needed somewhere specific?
Hey. How you doing?
I don't think you are. If we have one to speak.
We should have.
What do you mean? You're gonna give him same. It's coming. Let me know class.
What is the feedback?
This is an operating table. Oh, yeah. It's the same one.
Same one?
Who's BBW feedback two.
BBW feedback too.
We can just type it in double check. Sorry.
You want side to get it started up? Side. You want to start getting yours set up?
We're gonna have to be a 3 guys. Hi, you want to go the operation today? So we're gonna run
Yes.
You know, I would be worried about yeah, we're just gonna go the one thing is just want to have more fair use.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Good friend of mine who's a pretty well-known filmmaker. If someone comes to you and says, you know, you have a song of ours and you have to cease and desist, he used to say, I consider myself successful to have made it in the film.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
You, my dear, you're a naive youth.
I am very naive. I don't know what I'm doing. That's right. How did you know? You're a wrestler?
Wrestling shoes.
They are. They are. You can see I've wrestled them quite a lot.
But you guys on the same team.
Really naive.
The most naive we'll have.
So what do you think is switching teams?
I'm
You guys like it?
nervous about how it's gonna go, but I think it's gonna be fun.
You get to know everybody, that's for sure.
Not those that are
And you
focused.
get to not hate it.
Well, and the fact that I didn't get to hate the users with it.
See, that's good. Designers get frustrated because they don't have enough time to hear about it. So it's hard to figure out all these different things.
Mo, you want to be here this morning?
No, Mo's out. We got
a lot of people, so we're not gonna, we'll be good. About ready?
I'm a designer.
All right, about ready for attendance? All right. All right. About ready to get started. Welcome to Naive Guest Morning. Before we get moving, let's do a quick attendance.
Team 27. Thanks, y'all. Team 25. Team 23. That's right. Team 21. Team 19. Who's missing from your team? Team 17. Team 15. Cool.
All right. So this morning we have some of our naive guests here. I guess we could introduce John, Ralph, and Heather will be some of your naive guests. Actually, Christine Barnes will also be joining us. And Mary Catherine's documenting the whole experience because this is a fun chance to see some of the faculty experiencing a moment of naivete in VR. It's a little bit. I mean, this is my weekly job to be a fool up here. But the rules, as the class knows, but our guests may be less familiar with, you'll be welcome into the VR world, but given no instruction. If you ask for instruction, the rules are you can't receive it. So if you're confused, your confusion is part of the experience. If you're confident, your confidence is part of the experience. After you go through the world, we will be doing a few things. We'll talk about your experience. One of the things we'll talk about is your feeling of freedom in the world. Basically, how much agency, how much choice, however you want to interpret the feeling of freedom, but one of the goals is that the world give you a feeling of freedom. We will also be opening an envelope, reading off the predictions the team made about what you will do, and we'll sort of be double-checking that. All right. Sound fair? Is everyone ready? All right, with this, we have a team that's going to go first. Do we have a guest volunteer who wants to go first? John's up. Let's do it. And as always, teams, take notes on feedback. We got the feedback form, but let's get this going.
One more additional note. Unless you're moving in like a big prop or whatnot, keep this door closed because that'll mess with the play area of the quest.
Welcome home, honey. I'm cooking dinner right now. No eating snacks before that.
Put those snacks away! I hear you taking those snacks. Stop right there!
Welcome home, honey. I'm cooking dinner right now. No eating snacks before
Put those snacks away! Stop right there! Those candies are not for you! Those candies are not for you, honey! Down to you, honey! I said no snacks before dinner! I hear you taking those snacks! Where did you go? Stop! Where did you go? Where are you, honey? Where are you
right.
hiding?
What do I remember? So it was very easy entering into this. The onboarding was extremely simple. I saw the bowls, I saw the snacks. I'm out of breath. I think I even saw Kit Kats in there, which was kind of cool. The beam didn't seem accurate is the only thing I would give you. Everything else, I knew what I had to do. I was able to peek up and see the beam. Mom scared me a couple times. The presence of her felt good.
What do you want to hear what the predictions were?
The what?
The predictions of what you would
The
do.
predictions were I would move around and hide from Mom. I would grab snacks out of the bowl. And I don't know the third.
You got two of them. The first one was guess will try to grab the snack. Second one was the guess will try to avoid the mom.
Okay.
And the guess will try to get as many snacks as possible before getting caught.
And I did that. So there you go.
I mean, yeah, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Sure.
So how did you know you're supposed to grab snacks?
The panel in the intro told me, but there's bowls of food on the table, and it was inviting. I saw candy on the table.
How did you know you were supposed to avoid the mom?
The big freaking beam coming at me. And the noise was good. I didn't know if it made sense. The panels told me a lot. The panels told me avoid Mom's gaze.
Yeah, I mean, watching it, just seeing it, the mom had a presence, which was less mom-like and more like laser beam monster, which felt strong.
I would say my best moment was right here. Because Mom was there and she turned this way and I had the duck under her arm and it freaked me out.
And I guess one question is, so there's a physical table prop here.
Yes.
And this world wasn't just about sort of like a mom and candy. It's kind of in the space. Can you talk a little bit how the world felt? And like, you know, basically interacting with virtual candy on a real table and trying to hide from a virtual mom behind a physical table?
I was aware of the physical table. And the height felt good. Me coming up and grabbing what I needed, and I felt like I was safe behind the table. So the height of the real table did feel good to me.
Yeah, and I watching it, I mean, definitely like you did some interesting things with mixing reality and the virtual space. Like you had to get occlusion going on. I think the occlusion was definitely working well enough for this to feel about right. And watching it, those moments where you were like trying to reach past the evil mom and get to candy, looked and felt really good.
The other thing that I was doing, I don't know if you caught me, I could sense this. So I can feel when I got to the corner. And the echo in the room helped me too. It was weird.
I'm going to roll back to a moment in the first time you played it. You lost.
I did. I did not know why I lost the first time.
Do you know why you lost the other times?
The last time I got caught in the beam.
Okay.
The second time I lost, I still wasn't sure about the second time either. I was not aware enough of Mom finding me. So maybe there should have been a moment of that better.
And so you replayed it a few times. There was a sense, so you lost. What do you think it meant to win this world?
What would it have meant to win?
Yeah, I guess, would you have a sense of like what it would take to
I got to 8.
Okay.
I knew I needed 2 more, and then she nabbed me. I was greedy, and I went for it. I knew she was going to get me, but I knew I had to get to 10.
Was there anything he should have been paying attention to in terms of like losing? Was there any indicator, or was it just the beam? I guess, is there some feedback in the world?
I do have a question. I saw her icon on top of her head. I guess that was if she was mad or happy. I saw it once, and then I never paid attention to it again.
Yeah, it was very noticeable watching it. Like the focus on the candy was super strong.
Yes.
And I think the laser beam and like avoiding laser beam was really strong too. But beyond that, any other indicator of state and stuff like that was definitely getting lost.
Agreed.
But overall, like the emotion of this, like I think this world was relatively simple, but like scored a really solid like sense of the mom is trying to get you, and you're trying to hide, and you're trying to do something, and that nice little combination just looked really compelling. I mean, you tried it, 3 times?
I would want to try it again. So there you go. That's the best I can give you. I would want to try to get to 10.
All right.
I give this to...
And actually, and just for numbers purposes, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the feeling of freedom in this world?
I did not feel obstructed at all, so I would give it an 8, 9, somewhere in there.
All right. Thank you, John.
Team 25.
Hi, friends.
How are you, Peter?
I saw him yesterday. I hugged him yesterday.
Our team, Christine, your night guest for the day. First, you're going to get set up. Yep. Do you have predictions?
How are you guys? Nervous? Remember my world, but I've been on your side. So who hit 11:59 last night? What? You've ruined it for us.
The building closed at 9.
Oh, is that what it is? All right, 10:59 got it. Our building didn't close. We were just 11, and it's still the joke now. I work for a company now that people understood the ETC, so I'll be like, yeah, so I'll turn that over to you by 11:59, and they giggle. Because they know. When you know, you know. Yeah. All right, 10, 15, fine. That's how I got this job. Because they liked my robot. So they kept going to my home.
I remember Trey Davenport did one too. It was really successful.
Because I never worked with a lot of these projects. But because I had a unit, I had the right actual robot. They all kept coming in my office. And they were like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because it's a big giant looking robot. And so they kept coming in and they started to be friends with me. So when I moved to Florida, we kept going out to dinner and hanging out together. So they saw the news article that said Epic Universe is being shut down.
Yeah, he's launching it for you.
We ready?
Give him 1 second. He's gonna.
I'm gonna gab because, you know, it's quiet. Quiet to talk to. It was 100%. So he called me and he said, I see that Epic Universe is getting shut down. Do you have a job? And I said, I have a meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I think that's what they're going to tell me. And that's what happened. And he said, great, I have a job for you. So I requested 2 months off. I had to say, no. How about a job in 2 months? I'd like a break. Yeah, I would like a break. So, but yeah, that's what happened. It was great, and it's been amazing ever since.
Working the magic sauce.
That's it, and that's what I explained to all these folks. Yes, folks, you just talk to people, be nice to them. You don't even have to like give me your business card. Just be nice to them.
All right, all right.
Was that enough? That was enough chatting?
Good.
Siri, you're ready?
Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm working with Nolan, so.
Alright, so you want to face this way.
Okay.
And I think I gotta turn up the volume.
Yeah, you're all with. Thankfully, I know audio so well. Okay. Oh, are you serious? Why does it have to be bugs? And I live in Florida too. This is like a nightmare.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bug Tag, the world's largest love update show sponsored by our love god. A big applause for today's bugs. No bugs, make your choice. They all choose the same target. That's human. Wow. Lord of the Flies, more like Lord of the Love Bugs. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Which bug will win that human? Or maybe the human can survive till the end. Whatever. Love bugs, love each other. Let's date. Our bugs are coming one by one. These things are that human can protect itself. Let's show them soon.
I cannot win this. I know I can't win this. Alright. Dave, tell me to stop playing. Oh, come on, it's the same one. Just need to go somewhere else. I can't. Why can't you make your shield?
Our bugs are coming one by one. Let's be sensible. Again, ways that human can protect itself. Otherwise, the show will end soon.
Alright, I think I got the same answer. No, I won't play. Good job.
I feel for you. I was in this world at interim. I know how it feels to be approached by large human-sized bugs. All right, do you want to hear what the team predicted?
Do you want me to tell you what I think they predicted?
You can make a guess.
That I'd fail. That I push the button, and that I'd replay it at least once.
So, prediction 1, guest will press the blue button raised from the ground. I think a strong prediction. There's a nice big blue button that shows up.
And it's flashing.
2, guest will try to push/punch the bugs.
Oh, yeah, that was an instinct.
Definitely
100%.
saw some of that happening.
Yes.
And then 3, after 60 seconds, guest will try to touch the holy heart with yellow heart particle effects.
Wait, what?
I believe we did not see, was there?
There's a what? Say that again.
After 30 seconds.
I can't read his lips, so
You need to resist for a minute to see that props come out, so that's why.
Yeah, basically, it sounds like the guest would have to survive for 60 seconds. And then, once you've survived for 60 seconds, a heart shows up that you will then be attracted to it and touch. A holy heart.
we'll get rid of them? Like the bug spray? Yes.
We have to empty.
Okay, all right. See, now I want to play it again, just see if I can get to 60 seconds.
Let's start with this world. What was this world about? How would you describe it?
This world is about love bugs, and for those who don't live in Florida, these are stupid little bugs that join at the butt, and they are what's the swarms? They have swarms of them, and they will get all over your car and destroy your paint job. So yes, they're about love bugs, and they're coming after you because it's mating season.
There's a lot of backstory that you get if you're from Florida.
Correct.
Hard to predict. But
It
very
did
useful.
take me a second to realize, oh, these are those love bugs when they showed up, because they look just like them. So then when I saw the title, it didn't click until I saw the bugs, and then I went, oh, but I could see, because it explained it's mating season. It's like your splash screens were great, because I was going, oh no. Yeah, I knew what was happening because of the splash screens.
What did you do in this world?
My job was to stay away from the love bugs because I did not want to mate with them, and I really wanted to push them away.
How did you, so do you think that's what the world wanted you to do, or is that what you wanted to do? So, I guess, how would you describe your goal in this world as the world was setting it up?
In the splash screen, it didn't seem like I was really excited to actually have this situation occur, so it did feel like I had to run away from the love bugs. And I saw the ring, which sort of meant fight. My instinct was a wrestling match because of the ring.
And there was I think a point when you lost, you sort of mentioned, I don't think I can win this.
I didn't see how you could win it. I also, my problem is that I felt like the ring extended into the first row, and I couldn't get away from them far enough because there was too much stuff in the actual room to get away from. So I wanted to go over here, but I knew there was a desk there. So because I could see pass through, I could see that I couldn't sit in Ralph's lap to get away from them. But the ring kind of moved with me. And that was part of my problem was, as I moved over here, the ring kind of moved, and I went, I can't go over there because there's stuff in the way. So if the space had been bigger, maybe I could have actually gotten away from them.
I'm kind of curious from the team, is there strategy to this? Is there stuff that Christine could have done to survive longer?
You can push them.
Because the hand tracking is laggy in Oculus, so you cannot push it too fast. Or otherwise, you will lose your hand tracking. And then
Ah.
you can push it.
Yeah. I noticed near the end that you were pushing, and there was, staring at it, there was some subtle feedback that the bugs were getting pushed away, but it was kind of hard to tell in the moment that it was an effective strategy.
Yes.
And so it sounds like this world is about getting away, but they're going to getting up on you, and you have to really work to push them away. So pushing them away is a big part of this. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes, I was doing it instinctually, trying to make it, trying to figure out a way to do it. Or a response, a physical response, he does something, he disappears for a second, or he does something. But the other thing to note, the other thing is we as humans instinctually do this to bugs. So to slow it down, I would have had to have known that somehow. To make the, it's the little lizard brain of the human that wants to, wants to get away, and the first thing you do is, that.
And I mean, to the world's credit, you were trying to push them away.
Oh,
But
yeah.
It definitely created the feeling that you wanted to get away from them and that you knew, in some sense, your arms might be effective. And in that moment, I think it's definitely an iteration would be, how do you send a really strong signal that, yes, you figured it out, pushing is a really good thing to do. And
even like a sound effect, if I heard like a pow, if I heard something that said, I got you, and then I would know, ooh, I can hit them. And then I would start hitting them in a slower manner because I would have realized that that would have done something. But I was also getting attacked.
By any chance, when I saw in the beginning you were like covering your ears, were you disoriented by the...
No, I was actually trying to hear because I'm partially deaf. So I was trying to hear this because I heard you guys talking, which was fine, but I'm partially deaf. So what I was doing is cupping my ears so the Oculus sound would go into my ears and I could hear the instructions. Okay. Yeah, your instructions were fine. I'm just deaf.
Yeah.
I want to say that we actually have sound effects for pushing back, and also we will have the velocity to push them far away if you are pushing them faster. But if you are super fast, the Oculus cannot do the hand tracking. That's why it feels...
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely some iteration to put into the feedback because you have a little bit of feedback. You can tell if you're paying attention, but this is a really good example of subtle feedback that sort of matches what you think the world wants is like the first step.
Yes.
But getting feedback that a guest can recognize, especially, so your world is doing a really good thing, which is like creating an emotional situation. You're trying to make the guest feel a little panicked, a little like scared about what's going on. And so you want the guest to not be sitting there thinking very carefully, okay, let me collect my thoughts. Let's think about what the right thing to do here is. You've got the guest in a state of like, excited, fun panic.
Oh, yeah.
And in that moment, you need to break through that emotion and get them a signal that they can see. And like in some sense, this is why, we play test. You guys did a great job of achieving the emotion, and now like the next iteration is how do you get feedback to show up through the emotion? And in some sense, like that's one of the big challenges of interaction is you're aiming to immerse the guest in a way that they stop thinking about the game and they think about the moment they're in, and in that moment, interface becomes much harder to see because they're not looking for it. But
Yes.
it's a fun design challenge. And
I knew I got hit because it turned red. If I had a moment to breathe before the second one came, I might be able to have gone, okay, how can I get rid of these guys? But I did feel, that was my other one. So in second iteration, I would just give it a little extra time.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun. I'd play it again. I want to play it again so I can win, but yes.
A few thoughts. I think it's important to reiterate what Christine was saying about that lizard brain, and when you're getting someone's emotions up and their like fear of being, of an insect attacking them, that if your technology doesn't allow you to perceive a fast motion, but your gameplay is like invoking naturally this kind of like, get away, like, then you have a mismatch between like what the technology you're designing for and what you're wanting to achieve. And so you have to be thinking about what are the limitations of the input on the technology when you decide what kind of, human behavior you're trying to design for. And then the other thing is, I'm also from Florida, so I was very triggered. But part of me was like, wait a second, I can't tell if they are trying to they're backing up to me, but does that mean it's only dangerous if it's behind me? Like, are they trying to get their butts lined up with my butts? And then that way, like, if I just face them forward, am I safe? And like, I couldn't quite tell if there was something about the way you were facing that mattered in terms of whether you were in danger from any particular bug. But that's just me because I know too much about love bugs.
And when you're in Florida, you know. When you know, you know.
All right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, feeling of freedom, how much freedom did you feel you had in this world?
Freedom, I say 8 to 9.
Right.
And would I play it again? Yes.
Perfect.
because it's totally a fun game.
Thank you so much, Christine.
You're very welcome.
Team 23.
Heather?
Do you guys need like set up yours like or in the right spot or? Can you launch it for him first? You want her to start right here?
Yeah.
Babe, can you hear me? Can you please do me a favor? Can you help me move my stuff out? The trunk is not very spacious, so be careful. I just knew you could make it. Thanks, Han.
All right, Heather.
All right.
You want to hear the predictions?
I can try to guess what the predictions are.
All right.
I would, remove the lid from the dish. And I would pick up some objects and put them in the incredibly large car parked in my living room.
The prediction one, they'll open the food cover, nice and specific, and decent prediction, probably very predictable. 2, very general, they will try moving the furniture. Especially this world, I would have been curious if you could have predicted which Heather would have moved first. And I'm kind of wondering in playtesting, did you see any, did you design for that? And did you see any consistency in what they moved first? Okay, I think especially for this world, there's some questions, like I've got some questions about like how you figure this stuff out and what you think. So they'll try moving furniture, they'll move the furniture into the trunk. I think you picked up on the destination pretty quickly, and they will break things while moving them around, which I think also happened. So the general space of the predictions, like I said, this world has potentially an implied order, and I'm wondering if there was any that you saw. So you did open the food lid, and then you described the world. I guess tell me about the world you were in and what you were doing.
It was pretty, one thing was very strange about the lid thing is that then like there was this cartoon and I was like, do I need to actually read this cartoon? And I had to get really close. But I guess it turned out, no, I didn't have to. But, and then when I was in the room, I dropped into the room and realized I needed to help her move out. Of course, I started looking around to see, like, first of all, I'm like, how, this is the first time I picked well, not the first time because I picked up the lid, but like, what is picking up things in this world going to be like? And obviously, like, you have some implied idea of what the materials are. So I forget if someone remembers what I went for first. I feel like it was not the bottle, but I can't remember what it was.
The TV.
The TV.
You went for the TV.
I think it's, yeah, so I think it's because I was just going for something kind of boxy, and because I started thinking about like Tetris-y, how do I fit everything into a back of a rectangular truck? Because I thought there was a puzzle element to that I'd have to start stacking things. And then when I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't pick up the TV, like the response to my hands was not good. I was like, well, I'm giving up on that because I got to figure out how to pick up things. I'll try something else. And maybe that's when I went for the bottle. But I was pretty reluctant because I knew that I wasn't supposed to break things. And so I would rather have not picked up the bottle. I'd rather have, maybe I should have gone for something else because I knew that was going to be fragile. And also it was more of a one-handed pickup. You can't think of picking up a bottle with two hands. And then when I got into doing two-handed objects, it went a lot better. So it was very, I'd say, when you're trying to do something that's very easy to do in the real world of like just grabbing a bottle, and then you're in the game and you're like, there's nothing there, my hand can't do it. I don't think that was what the experience was going for, but I did find that coming in the way of my engagement.
How do you pick things up in this world?
From what I could tell, the ones that really worked out were the two-handed things, and it was that I, got within what seemed to be the surface of that object and made a kind of grabbing figure with my hand. That's the closest I could tell you to the answer to that. But that didn't seem to work with the one-handed, like bottle or whatever. It's like I was doing this, and it wasn't going in my hand.
I'm curious for the team, what is the technique for picking things up? And did you iterate that through playtesting? Did you see different people trying different ways, and did you change how that worked? Yeah, and watching it looked like picking things up was a challenge all the way through. And like the confidence of like how to pick things up never quite got to a place where you were like, oh, I've got this.
Yeah, and sometimes if you had picked it up, but then I guess if it couldn't see your hand anymore, you would suddenly not have the object. It would interpret it and like, oh, I didn't mean to drop that box. I thought I was doing everything normal.
What do you know what success in this world meant? Like I think the world ended. Were you successful?
I was successful. I wish there had been, it kind of just disappeared when I was successful. Maybe there was something going on, but it wasn't in front of me. But I, at some point, did see that there were counters and that there was the, obviously happy counter and then the not happy counter. And I saw that I had the opportunity to increase that. And I actually started making choices about what I would pick up. I'm not sure if this was even useful, but I was like, well, it's just a cardboard box. Surely it can't break. So I started thinking of like, what's the least fragile thing in this world that I can try to move? And that's like when I went for like furniture. And also it's just more fun to pick up big things because in real life, I cannot just take a chair and go, woo, So I started to veer towards stuff that seemed more in the fantasy of like, I can pick up anything. Also, I had a weird kind of like, maybe it was because it was furniture and random stuff and also just a little bit of the simplicity of the visuals, but I kind of got this Katamari Damacy feeling like maybe I can't earn the ability to pick up this other thing until I've successfully picked up this thing before it. Like I started thinking maybe there was an order to when I could or could not, and I was testing that out a little bit.
So thinking about freedom, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much freedom would you say you had in this world?
Well, I could try to pick up anything I wanted. Yeah, I would say maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7. I think the frustration of not feeling I actually had my mind, I couldn't directly translate what I wanted to do into actually doing it, held me back from feeling free because I was struggling so much just to do something basic. So I can't say it was higher than that.
Yeah, no, and watching it, it did feel like I said, that it looked like mastering picking up never really happened. And actually watching it, I mean, how did you, when things went into the truck, how did you place them in the truck?
I kind of thought that gravity would just take them and they would be right below where I opened my hand, but they didn't. They kind of popped over somewhere else. And that didn't seem within my control, so.
Yeah, I mean, the balance of this world, like you have a really intuitive interaction. Like I think you picked up really quickly that this is a world about moving things, picking things up. The truck was a great addition, even though it's like a little weird. It's in, like, are we in the room? Are we outside on the road? Like there's a little, like just a little bit of a fiction question, but super clear.
Yeah.
Things go.
Yeah, there was no doubt that that's where they needed to go.
And so the next level would be, can you connect that intuition to the interactions in the world? And it seems like picking things up is not quite as you want it to be or expect it to be. And so learning that was a bit of a thing. And I would wonder, like, can you get feedback in that gives you more confidence in what you're doing? Like, how do you basically bring the guest from your expectations and your intuition to the rules of the world so that when, by the end, you have confidence in what you're doing? I think that would be where I would look for if you had on iteration.
Yeah, and maybe lean into the things that are kind of ridiculous, like you could not, as a single, person, just pick up a couch or, things like that make you want to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go for that,
Yeah, and the moments where you were picking things up by one-handed that were huge were some of the exciting moments, like the audience reaction, all that stuff, and like getting this world to sort of both disincentivize being too destructive, but also reward being sort of like this fantasy packing, moving thing is definitely where this was going in a good way. So, good work, team.
Team 21.
go on your head? Yeah, great. All right. Ferris, did you start it? Yeah, you did.
Give us clouds.
We need rain, please.
Give us clouds.
We need rain, please. We invoke you, O Tempest God. We need rain, please.
Give us clouds. Give us
We need
clouds.
rain, please. We invoke you, O Tempest God.
Give us clouds.
We invoke you, O Tempest God.
Give us clouds.
We need rain, please. We invoke you, O Tempest God.
Give us clouds.
We invoke you, O Tempest God. We invoke you, O Tempest God.
Give us clouds.
We invoke you, O Tempest God.
Give us clouds.
Help us! Don't win! Help us! Don't win!
We invoke you, O Tempest God. We invoke you, O Tempest God. The fire, it's spreading. Put it out.
Help! Help! Put out fire! Put out fire!
We invoke you. We invoke you. The fire, it's spreading. Put it out.
Help! Help! Put out fire!
The
Put
fire,
out
it's
fire!
We invoke you. O Tempest.
I want to do this some more. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right. Okay. Predictions.
All right, Ralph, great for predictions.
My predictions was give the kids rain and put out the fires.
All right, so number one, the guest will push two clouds together, causing rain that makes a field grow. I think the beginning, watching you, it looked like you were pushing clouds around. Number two, the guest will push a dark cloud away.
Because it was flooding.
There was flooding. And then guests will push two clouds together, causing rain that puts out a fire. So yeah, I guess, tell me a little about this world. Who were you in this world?
God.
All right. And what were you doing?
I'm used to playing God.
I mean, like, I feel like this is a little bit of a cheat to bring you into this world. So you were a god in this world. How did you know what to do?
Well, I knew intuitively what to do. What I didn't know, though, was what you just said, was pushing two clouds together. I did not know that. I wasn't really sure what was making the clouds rain. So I did not know pushing those clouds together did that. And that's one thing I did not know. And I was wondering why all of a sudden, I thought it was on a timer kind of basis. That's what I thought. So
But you could tell that you could move clouds. I mean,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was really cool. And it was really responsive in that sense. And I was really playful. It was really making me reach over and play with things, you know?
And I guess some questions I have. How did you know you were God in this world?
Well, it was obvious. I mean, that's, Zeus, God, whatever the hell you want to call him, or her.
Well, I guess, was it the audio, the visuals, like a combination of it? Like, were there anything that you picked up on that sort of like helped you?
Well, it was just the sort of the overview of the world and just my being able to control everything in the world. And I don't know if you noticed, a couple times I reached over and see if I can pick up one of the people, to place him somewhere else, or pluck a tree up and put it somewhere. So it just felt like that, some omnipotent kind of, role I was playing.
So there were people in the world, they seem to be around something. Did you notice that there was like a center point to what they were?
No, I did not notice that.
And I didn't know what that was. I just assumed it was a community, a group, and I had to save them, help them in some way.
There was like something that looked like a statue or a totem, and it was like, I guess, what?
Yeah, I was wondering what that statue was. I thought they were praying to me, but then I saw that statue, like the statue of God. My representation of.
Gotcha. Okay, and I was watching it. I couldn't tell either.
Me neither. I couldn't.
It felt a little weird that they could have been talking to you. The world knows where your head is. And I think there could have been a question of like, could they have basically addressed you directly, but they were addressing sort of indirectly through a totem.
And I didn't get that. I wondered what it was, and I just assumed it was. I didn't assume anything actually. I was into my role of just doing what I needed to do.
And it sounds like the different things you had to do in this world were relatively clear. You mentioned like rain, flooding, and fire.
Yeah.
And how did you, I guess especially for the flooding, how did you know what to do, and how did you know it was working?
With the flooding was I didn't know right at first, and then I saw the water building up in the fields where the little characters were, and I realized that I was the rain, all those clouds are coming in, combined with the water accumulating. I knew that. I knew two and two make put two together.
Watching it, I really appreciate the sort of the interest curve and the escalation. Like you went from like simple rain, working the fields, and then you flipped it. Rain was bad, and it was like watching it. It was a nice sort of like, oh, this is what's happening. Like the clouds are a little bit different. There's water pooling up, and I think I was like sort of right there with you and like figuring it out. It's like, oh, this isn't a time where we want the rain to go away, and so pushing it was a nice use. Basically, the interaction of pushing clouds was reused, but in a different problem-solving way.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And visually, it was again responsive. I felt it was really responsive. I wasn't struggling with that at all, which I noticed in your world, Heather. It was a struggle to respond to things. It wasn't quite. It took a while. And also the art. Visually, it was very pleasing, and aesthetically pleasing to look at.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much freedom did you have in this world?
I would have given it a 10 if it was obvious to me that I needed to push the clouds together to create rain. But that was the only thing I didn't quite get. So I would give it I'd probably give it a 9.
All right. Yeah, and
I could have kept playing this. This was really fun. I was actually I hated it when it stopped. I went, oh, is that over already?
Well,
I wanted to keep going.
Why do you think it stopped?
I don't know. Good question.
It did seem to stop sort of abruptly. Was there like an indication in the world of like what success was? Gotcha.
And I didn't know why the statue was growing either. I noticed that. Oh, the statue's bigger, but why? It wasn't even all that much bigger,
Yeah.
It should have gotten like a lot bigger,
No, and watching it, like that was the thing that I had the most confusion around. Was what is that? Like I had a sense that it was related to the idea of we're a god and they need our help, but it was definitely like what it was communicating stopped there for me, and size growing, especially like I noticed at one point it seemed to be bigger, but it seemed like the size changes were really subtle. Like it was getting bigger, but it wasn't like, oh, we did this thing, and all of a sudden there's a moment to pause and be ready to see feedback and see that the statue grew. And there also wasn't a sense of like what big enough was.
Yeah.
That there was a problem, which was the statue needs to be big enough, and then we will have succeeded.
And it didn't relate to me. The statue, so there's two things, right? The clouds coming together, I didn't know that. And the statue didn't relate to me. Whether size would have helped that or something else that connect me with the statue would have done a better job of that. I'm not quite sure.
But on the other side, like the clarity of the problems of we need rain, we don't want rain, we need rain to put the fires out was really nice. The world spoke very clearly. These are little people who need help, and we have a problem. And so all of that carried stuff super well. And I think the way you use variety was really nice too. Like this could have been just a world where all you do is bring rain to the fields, but it wasn't. Like it actually forced you to like change what you're doing and feel like you were helping the villagers in other ways.
And the other little thing was the color. Color really made it pleasing to look at. The color selection of everything was just it was nice on the eyes. It was nice to watch, nice to look at. Who was the artist? Nice job.
Yeah, and it feels like you're also talking about how responsive it was. This sort of gets into like feeling like I have control. Like when I do something, it affects the world, and I can predict that. And that seemed to like really help make this world both one that you felt freedom in, but also that you wanted to keep doing. Like the world was now a world you wanted to play in. And so you got past the interface. The interface just worked.
And one of the things, based on that too, one of the things before it ended, because I was so into the meandering river, I thought that was really cool. And I kept thinking, after the fire, I was thinking, oh, the dam's going to break or the river's going to come, there's going to be some flooding and I had to do something. I was waiting for that because I thought that would have been a cool thing to do. But
I think a final piece of escalation would have been like the cap on this that would have like tied it all together. And instead of just sort of like growing a statue, doing this final thing for the village to like bring it up together that, yes, we helped them solve their final big problem, would have been a nice way to continue the problem solving of the world, as opposed to having just an indicator that sort of said, oh, by the way, this is what success really is. But overall, like really strong work in like guiding the guest and making the world speak to what needed to be done. Good job.
Team 19.
Truthfully, there's a lot of really good things going on here. So I don't want this to like feel like, oh, like John got to a state that's.
It was not a communication thing, it was a technical thing that I ran into. So I knew what was going on. I felt like I was doing my diner dash or whatever it was. I could see the tickets. I knew customers were coming to pick up the stuff. I couldn't get to the thing on the ticket. Was my difficulty.
To grab the ticket.
Yeah, I could not get those. So technically, it was failing on me. Communication-wise, I got it.
And when you double grabbed the blue cushion, you
Stretched it.
blew it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw, the first time I tried grabbing, I ran into.
Can you pause the video for a second? Yeah. So let's sort of walk through the beginning of this. Actually, let's jump to the predictions.
Let me just, before you do that, when I first got into the world, it was a little overwhelming. Too many, the radio had just as much priority as everything else. And it wasn't until later that I found out it was the soundtrack.
All right. So number one, the guests will grab and mix potions in the cauldron. A very general. You will do what the world wants you to do. They will take resultant potions and deliver the potions to the customer at the pickup window. And they will grab the key and use it to unlock the lock in the corresponding color.
Yes. I would have done all of that if I was able to.
And you got through. I think you got to the point where you understood what the world wanted you to do.
Yes.
And what you need to do that.
Yes.
The beginning of this world. Let's walk back all the way to the beginning. Actually, the opening. There isn't much in the world. There's just that one little piece of paper.
Right.
Right. And so, talk a little bit about like your initial understanding of the world and what you got.
When I first got in there, I thought I was under a tree, looking at a lollipop on a stick, because I didn't know what that image was. It was not clear enough that was even liquid in the thing. And then all of a sudden, things surrounded me, and I was able to match that with one of the beakers. So it all made sense as soon as that hit. I saw the counter, which helped me. I saw the cauldron, the three things. I knew the color. You told me to mix colors, 2 colors to get the orange, so that was all self-explanatory.
Yeah, it seemed like when the transition from just a little note to the whole place becomes alive was nice in terms of satisfaction, but like you mentioned, there was a lot of overwhelming things to absorb. And I really appreciate the fact you're talking through it. Like it was very clear, like step by step, the pieces started to make more and more sense, and you connected the dots together.
The thing that helped me is I play games like this. If I didn't play games like this, I would have been a little more confused, because I was trying to pick up stuff, and then I saw the sign to pick up, and I was thinking I had to pick that up, rather than it being it's a pickup window. I get it because I see someone outside now.
I think that was your one piece of text in this world. Is that about right? And it's interesting, that one piece of text was not so much clarifying, but it was causing confusion. I saw pickup, and you could see pickup at the corner. It's like, is there something you had to pick up? Like there was, it said something, but it didn't mean something in the world.
Yeah, it almost felt like they could have just been thinking of what they wanted, and I would have been able to do the same thing.
Well, in contrast to, you have a chest with 3 locks and keys, and there's so much clarity in that there's keys to locks, and I need 3 keys. One of the things I really liked about that was it was a really great example of interface that wasn't like a counter of just UI. It was, there's a thing in the world that clearly needs 3 things. I have a sense of progress, I have a sense of connection, and it wasn't just telling me, oh, I have 1 of 3 keys, get 3 keys. It gave, instead of it being sort of just a game mechanic of keeping track of a score, it was a world saying, I need to do something, I need to get things to do it. And I think that was a really nice little piece of design in this world for in-world interface.
I'd like to clarify what I was saying and even change it a bit. There was a lot in there, like after I I saw the cauldron and stuff. But that was okay for me because it let me put together all the pieces. When I saw the trunk, when I saw the cauldron, so I was able to put all that together as I moved forward.
So I'm a little confused about how the world works. So you grab that first note, and then the whole world opens up and a recipe shows up.
So just to be clear, I wasn't sure. I grabbed the note. There was no feedback to that. I needed a better response.
Well, and watching it, I wasn't sure if that was just the thing you did at the beginning, or if it was a thing you had to do every time, and if the state changed to reflect that, and so I was watching it. I didn't know what you should do. Like I wasn't like I had the time to like sit back and sort of try to imagine things, and like there was 2 notes up there, and we know we needed to deliver something, but just like you were trying to figure out like this isn't right, I didn't know what the right answer was watching it.
The thing that throws me a bit in there too is the space. It felt like I had to reach way far away to get the tickets over the cauldron. So maybe if there was a better way that the tickets were closer, maybe. They felt real tiny and far away because of the size of the thing.
So how does the world work?
So to address the ticket issue, we were having issues with people grabbing the tickets, so that's why at the beginning we only give you one thing to interact with, so that hopefully, grabbing the ticket, and did we have 3 dings? There's supposed to be 3 dings when you grab the ticket. Maybe not. But yeah, you grab the ticket, and then the ticket blows up into a recipe, mix it, hand it to customer.
That transition was
And
not clear.
and then when we're done with the recipe, I guess did the recipe go away?
That was obvious to me because as soon as I did it, it's a pling, and the other thing showed up. The recipe did disappear, but I got the new potion instantly.
Yeah, and it's your world had a lot to teach guests. Like it's not just mix bottles to make recipes. It's the tickets up here, you can grab them. Here's how you grab bottles. The bell, when you tap it, dings but does nothing else. The pickup window is a place where you take bottles and drop them off. To drop off a bottle, you have to let go of it. If you let go of a bottle over the cauldron, it'll float. If you grab a bottle with 2 hands and stretch it, the bottle will expand and become unusable. And it's a thing to start to realize is like, it's not just the high-level verbs of mixing potions. It's all those little bits and pieces. And I love the iteration. I think the focus of just giving the guests that first thing to do is a really strong strategy. Like, give them the focus in the moment to see there's one thing to do. When you do it, this happens. The challenge is, it's a complicated thing. It's like that ticket is a magical recipe that will expand out and become the guide for what you do next. And that's a lot to take in. And it was mostly there.
It feels like you could have caught a little more of the story at the beginning of the person walking up and then the ticket showing up. Because I didn't go backwards. I didn't make that connection backwards until later once I made the thing. But if I knew that was an order, it would have, instantly helped me out onboarding a lot quicker.
Well, and given that, I think the world building and just like you got a sense of sort of like where you were, what you were doing, that it had like a feel of a restaurant. There were customers coming. And so you got a lot of this.
More because I play games like this, less because of the way it was laid out.
But then the question would be, how do you bring a guest into all those pieces, all those little bits? But overall, like I said, one of my favorite things was just how you were defining state and progress in the world and not just an interface. I think it was a really strong way to reflect this, and it made the world feel more like you were a character in a world doing things as opposed to a person playing a game.
Yeah, nice finesse of that. Nice art. I liked everything.
So feeling of freedom, scale of 1 to 10.
I got too frustrated and it broke, so I can't give it above a 5 for sure. I felt like I was able to move in any order at first, and then it did show me a specific path I had to follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't go above 5.
No, and like that connects really strong with like how we think about freedom. Like
If this was done, like my feeling of freedom, hard to define. I should clarify how I'm defining my freedom. It felt like I was able to choose what I wanted to do. The tech eliminated all of that. So my real freedom would be 1 or 2.
Yeah. Well, in some sense, you had the freedom to mess things up.
I definitely did.
Nice, but it's balanced with when you get frustrated, like wanting to do something and the world saying that's not working, like is a big hit to that.
Instantly locks the user out, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you so much, John.
Team 17. Oh, right. Right, video first.
Hey! Woo-ho-ho-ho.
No, I like looking at this. You can go and pause it. Like, I love the ambition of your recipe system. It's like watching that. I was like, I can imagine someone getting there, but even just like seeing it pop up, I was like, my brain broke a little bit.
So the other thing, there's a path that you want people to take, and you have all these chemicals here. The problem I ran into is I'd never gotten the recipe, and I didn't know I didn't get the recipe.
Yeah.
So if you folks could kill the chemicals until I get the okay to move forward, I would have.
Yeah. No, and this is, you know, you have this road goes deep, but that's like you have a small little like fragile moment, and I think the other thing is like the hand tracking and the grabbing, like is very imperfect.
Yeah, if you saw our relief when he finally did
Yeah.
the first ticket.
Oh, and this is like welcome to the reality of technology. There's just because it's what the system can do, sort of built in, doesn't mean it's good. And a lot of things you see, especially when people are engineering systems for, now you've guessed, like if you're thinking about more like theme park attractions, they will not just use technology in its basic form. They will spend, years iterating it to be so like welcoming of different approaches and super robust. And it's a very different thing. And so like the built-in stuff is a bit more for, oh, you own this and you're gonna play a lot of games and you're gonna learn it. Like by the time you've done like 5 hours of VR, you're decent at this, and so it'll be okay. That's a different design space. And so one of the questions is how do you build upon that and make something that is much more immediately useful? And I think the grabbing system, and actually the controllers themselves and all the buttons, like they are not great for naive guests. But like I said, I love the ambition, and like I think the visuals and like watching it through is really cool to see. So great work.
Team 15. Sorry, 17? 17.
Do you have like a start screen? Good, good. If you're trying to recenter it, look down and then do it. Yeah, look down and. Yeah. Be very. Where do you want me to try? Where do you want it? Where do you want it? At the four corners. That's good? Right on. Yes, 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 yes.
Actually, a little bit longer, because it's not quite the hour or whatever part that is called. Okay, so just that extra long. Yeah, so it'll be good.
Alright, yeah.
I'll let you know if not. Am I in?
You're in. Have fun.
Ooh, pretty butterfly. I'm more of a spider person, but it's pretty. It's got like magic going into it.
Be gentle. They're fragile. You scared them. Be gentle. You
Fire
you can with them. Have a look around if you like. Stay as long as you want. When you want to return, the flowers will guide you home.
There was a big reaction from the team when you touched that butterfly.
I noticed that. Like that, yeah, that was not a diegetic sound. There's something coming from outside the world here that.
All right, let's read through the predictions. Bold 5 predictions. The guests will look around and notice the butterfly and try to touch it. It sounds about right for the beginning. Guests will try to touch all 4 butterflies. We got there. In the process of catching butterflies, guests will notice that they fly away when the guest moves too fast. So the guests will try to catch the butterflies gently/slowly. I think you were voicing some questions about, can they hear me? You clearly picked up on the idea that they were reacting to you. After catching 4 butterflies, the guests will teleport to another world and explore the new world. I think the teleportation happened. And then the guests will interact with different plants in the new world and try to catch butterflies again. So those last 4 butterflies were an exciting conclusion to the predictions in some sense. So I guess talk to me a little bit about how would you describe this world and what you were doing? It was clearly a magical world from the get-go. You know, the butterflies were glowing and the fire was purple. And so I knew not to entirely base my interaction on like real world, but close enough because like obviously with a real butterfly, you know, you do want to move very gently. And I think this is actually a really great contrast in that like you designed your world toward the limitation of the controller. So like the fact that I had to like move really slowly, you know, worked really well. It was expected and everything, you know, kind of matched my gesture, matched a lot the needs of the world. But then, yeah, I got teleported to the magical place, and there were a lot of very intriguing and colorful things around me, and I was given the instruction that I could just explore, and then, yeah, it's something about when I wanted to go home that the flowers would guide me. So I remembered that, and I started just, you know, exploring and enjoying a beautiful space. And I think for me, the trick came when I was like, okay, I've explored enough, and also I kind of want to leave things, you know, aesthetically. I don't want to grow all the mushrooms. I want some big, some small, and I want some plants open and some closed. And I'm done, and now the world is the way I'd like it, and I want to go home. So I thought that just the flowers were what was going to trigger it, and that's why I got stuck, because like I was told flowers, I interacted with flowers, nothing happened, and I thought, well, maybe this world wants me to actually grow all the mushrooms and touch all the plants. So I was a little disappointed, because that would have been, like, if it was required to do that, that would have definitely been less freedom. So it seems like, you know, finally it turned out that it was actually the butterflies that would take me back. So yeah, I think I learned. I just, you know, it was the last thing I hadn't interacted with again, so I just tried it. But I think I would have preferred that it was just the flowers, and that maybe the butterflies were there with me, but I didn't have to still. It was a little too trigger, like like it wasn't as freedom feeling. Well, and I really liked, so one, the offer of, you know, explore and the flowers will guide you home. It sounds like that worked for you. Like it gave you the confidence that the world would let you do what you wanted, and then when you were done, you could do something to sort of say, I'm done.
Yes.
Which I think is a nice little way to frame the exploration. Because a lot of times if you just give the guest the, hey, make the garden pretty, it doesn't have a sense of conclusion, but the idea that there is and when you're done, do this, had a nice way of guiding the guest to have that comfort. And then that, at the same time, that directive added this both clarity and then confusion, which is it's the flowers and the butterflies will connect it. Which I sort of wonder if you hadn't had that directive, like would you have been more inclined to like interact with the butterflies? It's just a little things of like how you shape those little pieces of instruction to guide the guests, and little things can shape big actions. But I think from a design perspective, it was a nice way to guide this. And that said, the world was lovely. I mean, I think you had an immediate reaction was you sat down and sort of got into this space more directly, which both sort of speaks to the space you created. It also speaks to the fact that you created a place which is low. And I was like watching you, like the initial butterfly stuff was a lot of looking down and having the hands low. And when you got into the space, the world just was a better perspective. Like seeing it as a guest watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a better way to view the world. And it's sort of notable, just height and how the space feels is a thing to be considerate of. And I think the fact that you brought the viewpoint low was nice to sort of see it in that way.
Yeah, and I have like so many thoughts and feelings about that because I really like when a game gets you out of your comfort zone in a certain way, but in a way that like is more invoking of childhood, and so it sort of puts you in this other exploratory space mentally. A lot of people might be reluctant to sit down, like, oh no, that's I'm a real adult human, I don't do that, So you kind of have to be aware that maybe it would have worked for anybody, but I'm glad that it had the option to be on more eye level with that stuff. And obviously for a kid, they'd immediately be on the ground. It did make moving around a little complicated, but I did it. Oh, I can't hear you, but yeah. Here you go.
We made the things like 0.7 scale down, so make sure like you feel like from the kids' perspective. It's like the how the kids will perceive the world. So
right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and the voice was a little younger and. Yeah, I liked that because it puts the player in a different mental space. Sometimes you do have to think about, and with all of these worlds, it's true. Like different motion ability, different mobility, conditions people might be in. But yeah, this one was probably more playable by a wider variety of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like you mentioned at the beginning with the way the interactions worked, it asked for a gentle input, and like the world did a great job of reinforcing that.
Yes.
That it's a slow, peaceful world, not about rushing, and it's a very strong design choice. And in fact, you didn't even need to be told to be gentle with the butterflies. Like watching your first interaction with the butterfly, you brought your hand low and under it. Actually, I kind of wonder, in playtesting, did you see consistency in how people interacted with the butterflies?
Some people, they're just trying to like slash the butterflies. And that's why we added a voiceover set to be gentle. We actually have the a reaction with the butterfly. If you're doing too fast, the butterfly glow will disappear. Yeah, it will shrink down to show the butterfly is scared, and the butterfly will also flee away. So.
I almost wish I'd tried that. I should have been a little more obnoxious, naive user. But
one other thing I really liked that you did a great job of highlighting, Heather, was the lanterns. They brought, so the world is very low, but the lanterns rose into the air, and it did a great job guiding the view up. And I think that was a really nice piece of variety, because the world is lovely, and getting a chance to look around is a thing that helped make the world just feel more alive. And so putting those in, because everything else was, it reacts here, reacts here, reacts here, but those were, it reacts and goes up. And I think that was just a really nice design touch.
Yeah, we actually didn't think about that, but it worked, so yeah.
So I guess, Heather, scale of 1 to 10, feeling of freedom.
I would have given it a 9 or 10, except for the kind of feeling of confusion at the end where I didn't know if I was free, so I couldn't. Even though in the end I discovered I probably was more free than I thought, I had doubts about my freedom, so I would say more 8.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much, Heather. Thank you, team.
By any chance,
And team 15.
All right, Ralph, you gonna bring us home?
从这个严肃的人手上。
Ralph, I expect you to bring some of your unique skills to this world. I expect you to bring some of your unique skills to this world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
High stakes. High stakes.
We'll see how unique they are. Okay? As long as I don't have to mix chemicals. Always hated chemistry.
Are you supposed to use the hand word or keyboard? We're using the hands, but we are using the keyboard. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ralph.
Yo,
Let's talk about this. You want to hear predictions?
my predictions, yeah. You want me to tell you my predictions?
Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to make, I was a cook. I was filling on my order, but I didn't. Yeah, but go ahead, but tell me your
predictions. They will push the button on the intercom. I think you did that. You found the intercom, push the button. They will try to make the recipe on the order board. So you saw the order board, it seemed like, and like, oh, these are the ingredients. And they'll place the bowl on the finished order table.
Yeah.
So I think you figured out the world pretty clearly.
But why didn't it work the first time when I placed the bowl? Or was I doing 2 times?
Just bringing the bowl to here, and then the lettuce on the table was automatically put into the bowl also, and it's not inside the order.
Oh, it wasn't inside the order. But I did that on the table when I, yeah, so when I moved the bowl, something happened then. Yeah. Oh, an extra lettuce, because, maybe it was I moved over to here, right. Okay, cool. I love the layout. I thought it was really cool. The picking things up worked, I think, well enough.
It seemed like you were able to get it to work.
Yeah. Some things were really sensitive, but watching these guys like playing around with things, trying to get things to work was always, you kind of learn. You got to be really gentle and pinch the little things. At first when the red button over here, it seemed like it was out of my zone, and I wasn't quite sure whether it was, whether I should have pushed it or not, but I did. Because it was obvious, it's like, duh, you got to push a red button. It's all, if there's a red buttons in it there, you got to push it, right? Can't ignore it.
And what happened when you pushed the red button?
I think it started the game. Yeah. I love this layout. I thought the colors, everything was really cool, really rich. I enjoy that. I thought the space I had to move back and forth on was pretty wild. Because when you're a chef in a kitchen, you don't have that kind of, it would have been better if I had like maybe a round sort of table, something that I didn't have to move back and forth on so much, so cover so much distance. Anyway.
And so you push the button, the menu comes up, you pretty quickly, like, oh, ingredients go in the bowl. And then I think you went and pushed the red button again. So I think you had a moment of like trying to figure out what does being done with the recipe mean.
Exactly. Because, exactly. Because I thought maybe I was done with that recipe, I have to make another one. Because, when you're playing, if you're in the role of a chef in the kitchen, the menu, the orders keep coming in. You got to keep knocking them out.
So you then delivered the bowl. Do you have a sense of how well you did?
Do I have a sense of how well I did? I do, actually. I thought I did really well, except for I was confused by what I did the bowl in the first one. Mm-hmm. It didn't work. It didn't end the game. I didn't complete my task. And the way you explained to me now is because when the bowl went down, I added another lettuce, and I didn't realize that.
So how would you describe how the world judges your success in this world?
How the world judges my success.
Yeah, like you were successful at the end. Was there any dimensions of like, was it neatness? Was it just completion of the bowl? Do you have a sense of like what the world was using to say you were this successful?
It was just finishing the bowl, finishing the recipe. What I didn't know though, what I was confused about was the timer up there. And I really thought I was under a time limit. And I had to hit a time or I fail. But that didn't seem to work. It didn't seem to happen. Because other than an extra lettuce getting in the bowl, everything just kept going.
Was the timer a factor in things?
So actually we have 3 orders rather than just 1. And the very first one is just the introduction order that as long as you're just like perfectly finished the order, you're like goes to the next one. But we just like cut the rest of 2 out and just leave the first one in. So it's just like keep looping until you get the perfect one.
So on this one here, the one I played, was only 1 order to fill out. Okay, yeah.
Why did you cut the other 2 out?
There was something messed up from our
Okay, so it was a technical thing, not a like, oh, in playtesting we found that 3 was too many.
I wanted another order. I actually did. I wanted to do another order. I really wanted.
And I think it's good to know that like that was your design intent, was
Yeah.
to sort of have it build. But at the same time, it took you, I think, so is the timer a factor in how successful you are, or is it just measuring if you failed or not? Like, is it if you run out of time, does the world end?
No, it's that the order was in.
Okay, the order ends and you just, gotcha. So so the way you get to the next order is you either complete it or the timer runs out and then it goes to the next order. Gotcha.
And the information on the bottom of the screen, what was it? It was low and,
Yeah, there's like 3 levels, like the low, medium, and hard.
so I did the low and I was,
Gotcha.
And I had to do that twice to get that right.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Well,
I would have liked to see the hard one, yeah.
Well, and it sort of speaks to, I think, there's a lot of details of like how this world works that were a little hard to get. So I really like, there's basically the soundtrack of this world, I don't know how much you noticed it.
I couldn't hear a lot.
There was just a ticking. It was a
Oh, yeah, I heard the
tick, tick,
ticking,
tick,
but even
ticking.
in the instructions at the beginning, I couldn't hear. They were so low.
Well, and
Kinda
that's, to the world's
garbled.
credit, that the voiceover wasn't necessary. I think
Yeah,
you understood your role
Yes.
in the world without explicit, like, oh, this is what you need to do. And I think that like just the layout did a lot to sell that.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone knows that, but I'm a cook. I love to cook. I cook a lot, so it was very comfortable being in that world right away.
I mean, I was impressed. Like there was no hesitation on the ingredients. It was like, oh,
No,
food,
none at all.
now I know the ingredients. Jump into that. And you did have this order board which had a lot of information on it, and like to the point, it had like the idea of low, and you had a timer. And so there's little pieces of this world that are clearly details that have meaning, but in the experience didn't really express themselves as, oh, this is what it means. So like, is the timer a failure case, or is it just the order runs out? And it sounds like a little bit like you had design intent to like reinforce those, but they're sort of in a less polished space. And I think that's where like iteration would be nice, is like how to know that another order's coming in. And so I need to hurry up and finish this one because the next one's happening. How to know that the timer is just on the current weight of the order, not the whole experience. And there's like little details of like, what do these things mean that the world didn't quite get a chance to sort of like clarify. The core experience was nice and clear. Like, and I think the use of a bowl was really good. Like this isn't, like, you have an array of ingredients. There's a lot of ways to cook. Not all forms of cooking is just putting ingredients in a bowl and being done.
Right.
But the clarity of the interface, clarity of the space, like helped reinforce that.
I have a question. So in the hard one, the more difficult one, was it also a bowl? I was throwing things in a bowl, or was I actually making something? Like baking something or cooking something?
No, it's just like putting the ingredients into the bowl.
Just as more ingredients, that's all. Oh.
Well, and it feels like if this world had visuals that sort of said, hey, you're making a salad. Like you're at a salad restaurant. That might have like helped clarify expectation. Well, I said,
Yeah. In the image, again, it was clean. Everything was so clean. It was so nice and easy to recognize everything, and it was so clean, and it all looked good. The corn, even the stack of corn was like, the shrimp, everything. It was clean looking, visually very clean.
And I think that's a nice thing to like see, is like there's places you could have expanded this world and sort of like made the world come to life more in details and like reinforce things, but you did a great job of like landing the core interaction. Like this is a world where you got into it, you recognize, push a button to start, it's like it sort of sets the order, you are like building things into the bowl, like all that, like even just picking the bowl up, 2 hands carried it over, like a lot of the stuff just sort of went naturally. And I think it's a credit to the design that the functionality of this matched really well with what your role was, and it let you achieve all this in like a really clean way.
Yeah.
One thing about the bowl setup, I noticed the bowl's at the end, but in a buildable restaurant, the bowl would be at the beginning, and then you would just go down the line and fill the bowl. Is that an option in your game? If you like start to have a timer on you, you want to be more efficient, and the way to do that efficiently is to carry the bowl around rather than carry the ingredients one at a time to the bowl.
Well, what do you think of that? But we had put the bowl in the middle. Sorry. We didn't think of that, but we had put the bowl in the middle at one point later, but we went to a previous version due to technical issues.
Okay, yeah, I kind of thought maybe it could be either because when Ralph accidentally added more lettuce, I was like, is that because the bowl is near the lettuce? Could I have just carried the bowl and put it onto the lettuce to get more? Maybe that, you know.
Because I didn't pick up the lettuce. I just moved the bowl and it automatically went in.
Yeah.
So if I would have got the bowl and moved around with it and touched thing, I would have. Here, use the mic. Use the microphone.
Someone on?
Hello. Okay. So actually, the bowl and the ingredients are just like collides with each other, and the ingredients will fall away.
Oh.
But I don't know why. Like maybe it's because you are moving the bowl so quickly.
Maybe.
And the like colliders are not like working properly, and it was automatically get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's definitely an interface question. Like when you are using physics to like mix things together, do you change state? So be like, oh, the ingredients in the bowl, and now the bowl is like a finished dish. And like watching it, I was nervous as you were carrying the bowl because it was clear like the ingredients were sort of in the bowl, but just because of physics. And it's like, could you dump them out? And like, there's a nice element of reality to that. Like, oh yeah, the ingredients are just in the bowl. That's I'm done. But I think it would have been more reinforcing to the idea of success if you put them in and all of a sudden like they form a lovely salad and it's really clear they transformed into a finished thing and now you know you're done and then you could carry it over with confidence that they're not going to spill out.
That would have been cool.
And it's just a little bit of like, you know, taking the basic steps and how do you communicate to the guest success, failure, comfort, confidence, and all those little things of like, okay, you've done this, don't worry, now you can do the next thing.
Absolutely, right on. If the bowl would have just went boom, you know, some sound would have indicated, and the salad all of a sudden would have been, you know, blossomed in that bowl, it would have been done. Again, you're going to go to 1 to 10.
Yeah.
What I didn't like, the only thing I would take away from this world is touching that button and going all the way over to here to put it on the table. That was too much running around. I'm an old man. I can't run that much. Anyway, from 1 to 10?
Feel the freedom 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I'd give it, I'm debating on a 7 and 8.
Right.
Because I thought it was really, I loved the visuals, I loved the colors, I loved everything. It worked really well. I had fun doing it. I wanted to do more. So, but I didn't like the distance I traveled. So now I'm going to give it a 9. I just talked myself into a 9.
All right. Love it, Ralph. All right. Thank you so much, team. Good work. I think that was the last team for the morning. Congratulations, all teams. And thank you, lovely guests, for joining us and helping us test out the worlds with some professional naivete. With that, I think we're going to break for lunch. And we'll rejoin afternoon session. And for all of you, 3 o'clock, we'll talk about what's coming next. Anyway, good work, everyone. Yeah, they are simple. They're going to get more crazy. Okay.
the team to interpret. And if the predictions effectively you'll interact with the world, that's very different than you will do this. And so it's part of, it's taken into consideration.
Do you have lunch plans or?
It's, so, I mean, the truth is, it's a mix. Like, the way I judge this is, what is, basically, it's kind of like an indirect control question. Like, it's not, so, the expectation is you will create a world that guests can interact with, and if you want to get, like, an A+ in predictions, you'll be like, not only will they do this, but they'll do this first. So, that's sort of like, that's like B to A.
I didn't know that like more complicated. I thought we would just make it really simple so that we aren't too complicated.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a great answer.
yeah, like it's not like your whole grade. It's in some sense like how much is the world about getting the guests just to do this thing versus how much did you like design the first step. And the base of this assignment is getting the guests to do something. And it's so. And when we think about grades in this class, like B is expected. You're doing what you're expected to do. And so it's not a bad thing. It's my reaction. So I wouldn't look at that and be like, oh, you did a poor job. Like, oh, you did a great job creating a world that guests can step into and know what's going on. So that's how it works. I mean, this is, so there's that, and there's like the feeling of freedom. Like this assignment has contradictions built into it. And it's sort of intentional.